As I'm in the position of chair this week, I would like to take advantage. Yeah, not for long. Prescribe me some very serious drugs.
What else is new?
Anyway, in my opinion, Keir Starmer is finished. In less than 12 months, the Prime Minister has bumbled, botched and backtracked his way through number 10. It's not leadership. It's a permanent three-point turn, rivalled only by endless Top Gear reruns. Captain Hindsight, as Boris Johnson once called him, well, that's proving to be more accurate than a political nickname in recent memory from other Prime Ministers I could think of. But let's rerun the greatest U-turn hits so far, shall we? Winter fuel payments, U-turn. Starmer promised not to raise taxes, U-turn. North Sea oil drilling, quite a little U-turn there. Yes, Ed Miliband's gone very quiet, hasn't he? Grooming gangs, the biggest scandal in modern British history. Well, Starmer called those who were calling for a national inquiry, and he said they were jumping on a far-right bandwagon, didn't he? Yet another grovelling U-turn on that one. The island of strangers speech, hailed as one of the only honest things he's ever said. He's since walked back on that one too, saying he now regrets it. So much, so far. Anyway, it's only been a year, hasn't it? And Ed Miliband's definitely gone into hiding, hasn't he? I haven't seen that bloke for weeks. And then there's the piece de la résistance. The Prime Minister solving the great riddle of our age. Keir Starmer finally figuring out what a woman was after the Supreme Court ruling. How embarrassing. Even his own backbenchers are now tearing up his policies. Confidence in Sir Keir Starmer is disintegrating. This is a government not on the ropes, but in total freefall. And to get this part started with my panel, I'd like to ask them all, in each, what words of advice they give to the Prime Minister. Will, let's start with you.
To quote, I'm testing my British history, I've forgotten, but my words of advice are, in the name of God, man, go.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want him to go because I don't want Angela Rayner in control of the country, so I would say, please call an election.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer actually did give some advice to a previous Prime Minister once. He said that they should not break promises they can't keep, which maybe the Prime Minister should take his own advice for a change. Trey, what advice would you give the Prime Minister?
Do you know what I'd say? It's probably to take Thatcher's words, isn't it? This lady's not for turning. I think he should just get to the point where I'm going to stick to where I am going and I don't care what the consequences are. I think that's what he should do. That would show some conviction.
Benjamin?
Keep calm and carry on.
Carry on what? You turning?
Carry on.
Carry on not delivering?
Because I think he's a very calm person. I think he's a level-headed person, and I think he's got a long-term plan, to borrow a phrase that David Cameron once had.
Yeah, it's that long-term plan it seems to be very short
Screw it all up
term,
for
doesn't
a couple of years and then try and rescue it.
That Observer interview this week was so fascinating because I continue to be amazed at the lack of political nous of this government.
Yeah.
Like, it was so obvious. You had the photo of him with the kitten. You had the photo of him with his wife. They're all just desperately trying to say, he's not a robot, he's a real person. And it's so insulting to our intelligence. But then you add on to that, the one thing we all think about him is that he doesn't have any sincere beliefs, and as a result of that, he's willing to go this way and that. And what's the one big thing that comes out of that? Is yet another U-turn on the only thing he's ever said that's correct, which is the Island of Strangers speech.
I think he's too good for us in many ways.
Oh, Benjamin, this must be
I do want to hear it, though.
for you.
No, because
We are not worthy!
No, I think he's a very ordinary person, a down-to-earth person, a reflective person. Do you know what? Most politicians, Boris Johnson, won't admit mistakes that ruined his entire parliamentary career. You know, the reason he's not an MP, he still wouldn't accept that he'd lied and misled the public. Whereas now we've got Keir Starmer, who, even while in office, is willing to admit mistakes, willing to admit misjudgments. Do you know what? In most workplaces, you'd find that really valuable in a colleague.
Do you know what? You would be right if that's what he was doing, but he isn't. What he's doing is looking at where the polls are going and trying to change his mind so that he at least isn't minus 27 in his popularity rating.
Yeah. Trey, look, looking at this, I mean, I love your opinions because it's an everyday man's opinion, in my opinion. What do you think the general public are thinking about this government?
I think it is. I think Dr. Rennie is absolutely right. They're looking at the polls and thinking, let's do that. Or what they're saying on TikTok, let's do that. That's what I think people are saying. It seems cynical. It doesn't seem sincere.
But there is another side to that, though. I mean, all politicians do that. And you can say, are they following the polls? People always used to say Tony Blair was obsessed with focus groups. But the other side to that is, isn't this how democracy is meant to function?
Nope.
You know, the grooming gang uproar, he listened to that and he amended where the government was. Surely that's what you want.
My biggest problem, Benjamin, is that the Prime Minister only seems to act, not even off of focus groups or from the communication from the public, he only seems to react when a court order a judge has told him. I mean, the grooming gang, the National Inquiry, what was it, to take a QC to do a full report, which was months. We all knew we needed a National Inquiry, for goodness sake. It took him months and waited for the QC and OK, we'll do it now. It seems to be the case he can only take orders, the same as the Supreme Court. He didn't know what a woman was until the Supreme Court ruled it.
Well, he respects law and order, which is better than Boris Johnson ever managed, so I think we've had an upgrade there. But do you know what? It would have been politically, it would have been easy for him to just say, yes, have a massive inquiry, let's spend a fortune on it. I tell you what, if government-led, judge-led inquiries fixed the problems in this country, then they would have been fixed a long time ago. He was trying to say that it's politicians' jobs to fix it, not just getting another report out.
But the problem you have, Benjamin, is no one believes you. No one believes you when you say that, because when you say that and when he says that collectively, because everyone goes, this guy doesn't have any conviction. He doesn't believe in anything. There is nothing really, there's no North Star which he is aiming towards. You said he's got a long-term plan. Because he's got no conviction, absolutely no one knows what that long-term plan is, because he doesn't know what that long-term plan is.
The long-term plan was in the manifesto, and we can see from the amount of U-turns...
some of it. Most of it wasn't.
Well, that's true. A lot of it wasn't in the manifesto. The bits that were have already been U-turned on. That's the problem. And I think what people desire so much in this country is something... This is why people like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it's because...
come off.
No,
that is true.
Hear me out.
That
I mean,
true.
he won in a landslide in America. And
People
where the
want
British
to lead
people
it.
see it
Hang
the
on.
same way. But hear me out for a second, because I think this is the reason why Farage does well, and because he's the British Donald Trump, in my opinion, is that he says things in a way that people trust and believe, because he has been a man of his word for the last decade.
Conviction politician.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump can't decide what the tariffs are on the second biggest economy in the world, China, from 1 hour to the next hour.
Because he believes in
The
tariffs.
idea, he
That's the
doesn't
issue.
believe in anything. The guy came to the election last year saying he wants no wars and no violence, and then he spent the whole time, not that I actually disagree with this, but he spent the whole time involved in wars and other countries' business. How is that doing what he's
No, I
saying?
disagree. I think Will's right. There's a sense of a northern star with Donald Trump. You get a
Northern
sense.
star
And I don't
himself.
agree with a lot of the stuff that he's doing, let me just say. But what I like about him is I kind of get a sense exactly where he's going to go. Where Starmer's going to keep flip-flopping, and that's what I don't like. Especially someone in the left, like a floating voter. I think, can I trust that?
Talking of northern stars, Angela Rayner seems to be smooth. Yeah, very smooth. Learned from the best. So, do you think she's gunning for the top job, Benjamin?
Of course she is.
Of course,
Well, do you know what? I think there's a bit of sexism in being annoyed at that, right?
I'm not annoyed by it. No one's annoyed by it. No one's annoyed. I'm asking you whether she's after his job.
Where did that come from?
I think she, yeah.
Nice try, Benjamin. Nice try.
I don't know if she's... I think women taking the top job is a great thing, as Dr.
Renee
Renee
proved last week, didn't she?
Dr. Renee, the Angela Rayner of this panel.
I pronounce my
That's the nastiest thing anyone's ever said to you on this show.
Below the belt.
I don't reckon she's gunning for it, because if she tried to go for it now, it wouldn't work.
OK.
But I reckon she wants the top.
Of course she
Yes.
does.
OK, right. We've got to wrap it up there.